Well, hello there, my friend. My name is Jonathan Doyle. Welcome aboard once again to the Catholic Teacher Daily Message. I am really pleased you are here. Please make sure you're subscribed. Hit the subscribe button here and hit that notification bell so I can let you know as soon as new content is ready. And also, I'll let you in on a little secret. Underneath here are a whole bunch of links, exciting links of such special magnificence that if you were to click just one of them, your life would radically change. Or you might just get some useful stuff. One of those things is going to happen. You can book me to speak live. You can get on my social media feeds. There's a whole bunch of good stuff under here. I do executive coaching for Catholic principals too, so go and check that out. Today we're going to jump into a message. This is from an address given by Pope Francis, by the Supreme Pontiff, to a group of educators that had gathered way back in 2014. But it's a really good message, so let's hear it. I'm going to read it to you now. Let's go. The educator in Catholic schools must be, first and foremost, competent and qualified, but at the same time, someone who is rich in humanity and capable of being with young people. All right, there are two dimensions to this really interesting quote. The first is this idea of competency, and in the podcast version below here, I go a lot more deeply into this, but I want to say that being a Catholic educator, it means that we should be pursuing excellence in our particular discipline, our particular area. Why? Well, firstly, because I think it's a good thing to love what we teach, to be proud of what we teach, to have mastery and excellence in the topics which we teach. Because the more excellence you have, the more knowledge you have, the more passion you have for your particular subject disciplines, the more you have to give. I often talk about that philosophical maxim that you cannot give what you don't possess. Is it not true that if you have mastery over a subject, if you're passionate about it, you bring so much more to the educational event? So the first thing Pope Francis is talking about here is this idea of competence, that we really should be people who are proud of what we know, that we want to communicate what we know, and that we've pursued mastery and excellence. So first thing is, I really want to encourage you to press on in your professional learning. Press on in your love and passion and mastery of your subject. It does matter. It does make a difference. And I really think it is something that we should be proud of. I grew up kind of with a great love of literature. I was a huge reader from a young age. And as I've got older in life, I have this great repository of sort of literary knowledge and formation, the great novels of history, the great writers, the great biographies. So from that place, I'm able to give, I'm able to communicate. And as a professional speaker, you kind of got to have that. So all those books that I've read for all those years have sown into what I try to contribute, and you are no different. So press on with that competence piece. Second piece of what Pope Francis is talking about today, well, in 2014, but we're talking about it today, is this idea of being rich in humanity and the desire to be with young people. I really love this idea of Christian personalism, that our love of the person is informed by our Christian faith. I say in the podcast below here, I was talking to my daughter during the week, and she's doing a lot of study in Marxism, in the history of the Second World War, and particularly in Stalin himself. She's not a Marxist. She's studying it because she's really trying to understand the dynamics of what it unleashed. I mean, it killed roughly 160 million people in the 20th century, right? And what I said to her during the week is that what you find in Marxism is a category error, is an ontological error, which is, what does that mean? It means that the fundamental problem with Marxism, apart from the fact that it's essentially satanic, is this sense of the person is nothing more than a carbon-based bipod existing by chance in an uncaring universe. So Marxism reduces everything to class struggle. And so many of the issues we're seeing in our culture at the moment, so many of the issues that you are seeing in your schools, so many of the ideological and political issues that you are seeing in your schools are based on incorrect ontology and a lot of cultural Marxism, which is you got to create victim groups. I don't know, you probably know this about Marxism, but the essential Marxist dialectic is you have to create revolution, and the only way you create revolution is by creating a victim class. What's this got to do with you, and what's this got to do with today's message? When Pope Francis talks about being rich in humanity, we can be so proud of our Catholic faith because, as I say to my own kids, what Catholicism gets right is it sees the truth of the human person accurately. We understand that we are imago Dei, we are made in the image of God, that we are so important that Christ came in flesh. One of the biggest spiritual breakthroughs in my own life was coming to understand that whatever I might think of myself, or if I ever beat up on myself or feel down about myself, the incarnation began to really change it for me. Why? Because why would God go to all that trouble if he didn't deeply care about us? So in a Catholic understanding, the human person has incredible dignity, value, and worth because of the incarnation, because in Genesis it tells us we're made in the image of God. So all of this is my way of saying, juxtaposed opposing to this Marxist idea is that we matter deeply to God and our humanity is incredibly important. So a Catholic teacher is somebody who knows this stuff. So you go into your classrooms rich in humanity, rich in a understanding of what it means to be human, to be made in the image of God, and to be familiar with the great emotions, to be familiar with the highs and the lows and things that make us laugh and things that make us cry. That's rich in humanity, so that you have a heart for the human person. So at my son's school, there's a mass on Friday mornings, and we went last week, and they had a memorial for a student who really sadly died after a long illness recently. And it was just a great testament to how a Catholic community, a Catholic educational community, can be rich in humanity. They invited all the parents in and the family friends and the siblings of this young man who had died. And it was just a simple mass, and it was a simple ceremony of dedicating a plaque, but I thought it was rich in humanity. It was really nicely done. So rich in humanity. And finally, what Pope Francis talks about is this idea of being with young people. See, I was educated by the Marist brothers, and I really loved how faithful they tried to stay to the founding ideal of Marcelin Champagne himself, where he really talked about being with young people. A great Catholic educator is somebody who simply desires to be with young people. I mean, this is your life, you're free. You could be with accountants, you could be with paramedics, you could be with people in an aged care facility. But Christ has called you into this vocation because he has placed in your heart a desire to be with young people. So shout out to Brother Michael Green, who I mentioned in the podcast below here, who was a great Marist principal and really embodied this ideal of being with young people. I used to work with him many years ago, and every break, every recess, every lunch break, before school, after school, he would leave his office with all the urgencies and complexities that he was probably dealing with, and he would just walk around and he would just be with young people. He modeled that. So friends, let's wrap this up. Be proud of what you know. Love your subject, because loving your subject is a way to love people. Loving your subject is a way to love your students. Read about it, learn about it, do courses, get better. You've got one life, you're not coming back, so get after this. Become a master of your discipline. It is a spiritual act to be a master of your discipline, because from that place of learning and knowledge you can give so much. Next, we want to be rich in humanity. We want to understand the truth of the human person. And then finally, we want to be with young people. And finally, Champagne said, to educate young people, we must love them, and we must love them all equally. And I want to finish with that because there are so many students that you might find that hard with, because you're human too, and people ring your bell and they press the buttons in your life and they annoy you. So what we need is this grace to love young people equally and to serve them and to be with them. And as I say finally in the podcast, I keep saying finally, I'm almost done, I promise. True story. That we can't simply do this by just our own strength and by trying harder. That is the heresy of Pelagianism, the idea that really we just need to work harder. Well, grace builds on nature, and St. Augustine said that he who saved you he who made you without your cooperation will not save you without your cooperation. So we have to cooperate, and that means the sacraments, that means prayer, that means reading scripture. So if we do those things, let God do the rest, okay? So that's how we love young people, by letting the sacraments and the graces of our faith grow us, strengthen us, develop us, so we can give more. Right, I'm going to stop. I'm excited today. It's early here in the studio. You can tell I've had my morning coffee. I just want to keep talking to you. But God bless you. Thank you so much for what you do every day. It makes an incredible difference in the life of young people. Please make sure you've subscribed to this channel. Share it with people. Go and check out all the links. My name is Jonathan Doyle. This has been the Catholic Teacher Daily Message, and you and I are going to talk again tomorrow.